Hi, this is Gilbert Gottfried, and this is Gilbert and Frank's Amazing Colossal Obsessions with my co-host, Frank Santopadre, and we're once again recording at Nutmeg with our engineer, Frank Verderosa.
Obsessions.
And who else is here?
Someone who I don't know how this show could have stayed on without.
He is indispensable.
Yes.
Sorry, Gilbert, I'm not sure I caught that. You were uncharacteristically quiet.
I'm scared every day that I'm going to find out that NASA gave him a job over there and offered him too much money.
That is hilarious. That is hilarious.
Paul Rayburn, who is looking up a question that I asked him 30 years ago.
It's the ties that bind, you know. That's
Yes.
what's kept us close.
We got an idea here for a colossal obsession. First, you wanted to say something about Frank Vincent, the great character actor, passed away.
He's best known for popping up in just about every Martin Scorsese film.
Well, he's in Raging Bull, and Pesci beats the hell out of him.
Oh, yes.
He's Salvi, right?
Yeah.
Smashes his head in a cab door.
And he's Billy Batts.
Billy Batts.
And Goodfellas.
Yeah.
And I
Frank
always
Vincent.
I love, after busting Pesci's ass, we used to call him Spitshine Johnny.
Tommy.
Yeah. You could see a face. You could see a face in your shoes.
Fucking mirrors.
Yeah. and then when he finally looks like he apologizes, I'm just having some fun with you. And then he turns his head, and before he takes a shot, he goes, "Now get your fucking shine box."
Yeah. It's a great, scary scene.
Yes.
And they were friends for years, him and Pesci. They were in a band together.
Yes.
Yeah.
He's so Italian looking. It's like I can't stand it.
Frank Vincent?
Yes, Frank Vincent Gattuso.
Yeah.
Is his name.
Yeah, terrific. Yeah. Terrific local character actor, New York actor.
I heard when Pesci beat him up in Raging Bull.
Yeah.
He enjoyed it because he had worked with him so long.
That's funny.
The idea of beating him up was
funny.
Something very gratifying.
I think he was Phil on The Sopranos. I think he was a rival mob boss on The Sopranos. But the week he died, we did the Raging Bull bit with with Rob Paulson. So that was also weird timing.
It's funny. Did you want to mention the other thing about Raging Bull we were just talking about?
Oh, and Jake LaMotta.
Yes.
Yeah, and Jake LaMotta died.
I had a beef with Frank Vincent.
You did?
Anytime I would try to look up my IMDb page,
Yeah.
his would pop up as soon as you type Frank V.
Oh, that's interesting. Hilarious. I never got to meet him, but he seemed like a real character and a very nice guy from what I hear.
Yeah.
From people who worked with him.
And he's a name that has popped up where we were talking like, hey, how about Frank Vincent?
Yep. If we ever get Pesci or Scorsese on this show, we'll certainly talk about him.
Yeah.
Somebody describes him as not a household name, but a household face.
He sure was. Billy Batts. Rest in peace. So here's the idea for this week.
And Harry Dean Stanton.
And we lost Harry Dean Stanton, too. Yes, we've lost some good people of late, and they'll all be on the In Memoriam show at the end of the year.
Oh, that's right.
So do your studying up.
My favorite part of and that I watched the Academy Awards and the Emmys for the In Memoriam.
Just to make sure you're not in it.
Yeah.
I understand.
That's the reason when they have a magazine article about the history of Saturday Night Live, I turn to the page that's whatever became of, and I just had to make sure my name's not on that list.
You were pretty low ranked when People Magazine did. Was it People that did the list of Saturday Night Live or Rolling Stone?
Yes.
I can't remember who it was.
That was a horrible.
Yes, but they also pointed out that you scored on your own career, apart from Saturday Night Live. You did fairly well for yourself in comparison to some of those people. Eric Ryan, we had a Producer of the Month suggestion, and this is on Patreon. which we'll plug now. You can suggest ideas for a show for your own or become producer of the month. Just go to patreon.com/Gilbert Gottfried, and you can become producer of the month, and you can tell us what kind of show you want to do. Also, Gilbert Sings. You favored us last week. It's the Valerie Sherman. You can also go there and request a song. But somebody said, Eric Ryan, who's a very big fan of this show, said, what about the cinema of Gilbert Gottfried?
See, I really wanted to save this for what's his name?
Who's that? Leonard Maltin?
No. Oh, God, I forget his name already. The guy with the beard. And what is your favorite?
Oh, James Lipton.
Yeah, James Lipton.
Yeah. Oh, when you run inside the actor's studio.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's your favorite sound?
The Bernard Pivot questionnaire.
I'll bet you anything there was never a Bernard Pivot.
Thinks he was on the Mothers-in-Law.
Favorite curse word. What is your favorite curse word?
Yeah, Gilbert, as long as we're asking.
See, it's funny. When he would do that, that's like, it seemed like everyone wanted to be witty at that point.
They all tried so hard.
So instead of saying fuck or shit, they would always go, oh, when I get angry, I always say tiddlywink.
Yeah, pussy feathers.
Yes. I always say jumping Jehoshaphat.
Do we have to get Lipton in here so he can return the favor and put you on Inside the Actors Studio?
Oh, that's right.
Well, get James in here. I worked with him once. He was hilarious. He said he was a pimp early in France. He claims to have been a pimp in France. That's a whole other story about James Lipton. We break news on this show, folks.
He recorded a campaign right where Gilbert's sitting.
He did.
For intel.
And I heard
check on him.
James Lipton would get these French hookers to shit on the glass
right. And then ask them their favorite word?
Yes. What is your favorite laxative?
Cancel James Lipton.
We seem to be having some trouble getting this show off the ground.
I'm sweating. I can't get to the premise. Okay, so Eric Ryan, who's producer of the month for the month of August, this is obviously running in September. We're that far behind. But he said that he wants to know about, he wants a little bit of information, and we'll try this, about every feature film you've done.
Oh, okay.
So some idiot with a lot of time on his hands, which was me, went to your IMDb page, and I took a highlighter, and I found every single feature film, not your TV work.
Wow.
Not your video games.
Wow.
Not your stag reels, but just... so starting with... I'm not going to do TV movies. I'm not going to talk about the further adventures of Wally Brown, whatever the hell that was. But your first, or The Toast of Manhattan, which we basically abused Barry Levinson for. Your first feature film that you are credited for is the role of paramedic. Do you know the film?
In House of God.
Look at you, how well you know your own career.
Now, this movie, there was a book that was popular. It was a best-selling book, and it was popular among doctors, I remember. I once asked 2 doctors, and they loved that book, and they decided to make it into a movie. And Charles Jaffe of Rollins and Jaffe, he was producing it. Now, they had already had, Tim Matheson.
That's right, Tim Matheson's in it.
And Jaffe would hang around the Improv and other comedy clubs. So this was a sign of desperation because it was already supposed to be a comedy.
Uh-huh.
And late in the movie, they said, oh, let's throw a bunch of comedians into it. Like with the hope that if you throw comedians in, that will make it funny.
It was one of those. 1984.
I was in it. Michael Richards was in it. Oh, Lenny Schultz.
Oh, Lenny Schultz. Was he in a chicken costume?
What was that movie we came up? Every comedian was in it. And they spent a weekend at some mansion or something. What the hell was that? We came up here maybe 6 months.
Oh,
a year
there was Joy's.
That's the one.
Oh, well, that was a stupid Bob Hope special.
And now
right.
in an
That's the
actual
one.
part in the movie was Joe Piscopo.
Right.
But it's an and the director, he had his previous film was about a blind ice skater, a girl blind ice skater, and so you knew he could direct comedies.
Was this Ice Castles with Robbie Benson?
I think so. Okay. Yes, it was Ice Castle.
I don't know too many blind skater movies. I'm throwing it out there.
Oh, I've seen them all.
Yeah.
And it was like just bad, and not bad in a fun way.
Well, that's your first feature.
Yeah.
And your second feature, a year later.
It never was released.
It was never released, House of God. Well, if we get Tim Matheson in here.
Made it to cable.
We'll talk to Tim about it. Bad Medicine, which we talked about with Bill Macy.
Yes.
You did the following year, 1985. You, our pal Bill Macy, Steve Gutenberg,
yes.
and Alan Arkin.
Yes.
And for some odd reason, you played a Spaniard. Tony Sandoval.
Yeah, I was Tony Sandoval, and there were a bunch of. It was basically like a Charlie Chan movie where none of the Asians are actually Asian.
Oh, great! Why they could have cast you as an Asian? You look more Asian than Spanish.
Exactly.
You could play an Eskimo and get away with it.
See, years ago I could have been Mr. Moto.
It's not too late for a revival.
And, yeah, so they had a bunch of non-Spaniards playing Spaniards with varying results of accents.
You played... who was Tony Sandoval? Who was your character?
I was like a mean-spirited assistant to Alan Arkin.
Okay.
Who was the head of the university.
Did you get along with Arkin?
I didn't talk to him all that much. I talked to him a little bit. I mean, a great admirer.
Yeah, we should call him. We should call him. He's one of those we haven't reached out to because we don't think we stand a fucking chance.
Yeah,
but we
also
we should try.
Watch The Rush.
What's The Rush?
Yeah.
just had him on The View a couple of months ago. He's sharp.
But then years later, I was in a hotel lobby in some hotel I was staying at. And I ran into Arkin, and he was very friendly.
Isn't that nice? Well, we'll try. I mean, he would be a dream guest. Okay, then 1987, this is your first movie that was prominent and that was seen by anybody.
And this is the most unusual thing that happened during the making of Bad Medicine, which was filmed in Madrid.
Right.
I got laid.
Stop the presses. This is a whole other show.
You know you've been on location too long when people are saying, hey, how did Gilbert Gottfried get pussy?
Was it Gutenberg or Bill Macy? That's my only question. Do you want to tell, or should we not tell that at school?
She was a local girl. Really cute.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. This is a score.
I mean, I think she had already fucked half the movie by the time she got to
Hey, guys, Dara would like to set a mic up and be part of this.
Dara would like to come in and join this conversation. That's a scoop. We could do a whole other show on that. Gilbert gets flown to Madrid and gets lucky.
Yeah.
Me getting laid any place. They should preempt old TV shows
or dim the lights at the Broadway theater
and lower the flag at half-mast.
I'll let that one go. In 1987, you played Sidney Bernstein in Beverly Hills Cop 2.
That was a big success.
Yeah.
Now, people think I got it because of Eddie, because I'm Eddie Cantor. And then he'd row right up the river. He would row. His heart he'd give her. He would kiss her now and then.
Very nice.
But Eddie even told me he had no idea that I was in the movie till he saw the sheet that day. But I auditioned for it. and I got picked. And then what was so much fun is that it was written very flat, and both Eddie and I ignored the script, and we just started playing off each other and improvising. So that whole thing about, it's my wife's car, and then I've got something in there, that was all on the spot.
And they let you do it.
Yeah. They kept they kept doing different takes, and we did it different each time. And both Eddie and I were ad-libbing back and forth and just cracking each other up.
That's great.
And then I remember
very funny in that.
when that movie came out. I mean, before the movie came out, one of the producers or something called, and he goes, I want to be the first to congratulate you.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, and Paul Reiser, who was in it, came up to me at the Improv in L.A. and said, your scene is the killer scene. And sure enough, when the movie came out, they were singling out that scene.
That's when you should have gotten laid.
Yeah.
It was all clicking.
Yeah, I never knew how to play that.
1987. Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Paul, can you look up when Tony Scott killed himself and how long this podcast had been running at that point?
you think there's a connection?
Ever approached to be on?
I was just going to ask, did you ask Eddie? Have you asked Eddie to do the podcast? I know you don't talk to him anymore,
no.
but that's no reason.
No, but if Scoey Mitchell's still around,
I'm not sure. Is Scoey Mitchell still with us? I know we lost Stu Gillum.
So before we get off that one quick trivia question.
Go.
Ready? Okay. Who plays the valet who makes a brief appearance at
Chris
the Playboy?
Rock.
I didn't finish the question
Nice.
yet.
Yes.
Very young Chris Rock.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Hugh Hefner pops up in the movie.
Yeah, I guess Eddie was mentoring Chris Rock a little bit back then. Here's one from a year later, 1988, and this has come up on the show.
Yes.
You know where I'm going with this.
Oh, is this Hot to Trot?
It is Hot to Trot.
From my heat with Beverly Hills Cop 2. Sidney Bernstein, my crack agents, decide, hey, let's cash in and get him in this next hit comedy.
Let's go for the big one while we get the chance.
Bobcat Goldthwait.
And Dabney Coleman.
Yes, in Hot to Trot.
And you were a dentist.
Yes.
Yeah.
I pop up at the end, and I'm there I do the scene with an actual horse, which was scary.
Yeah, you told that on the story with Bob, on the show with Bob.
Yeah, because it did whatever. It at one point leapt up and on its hind legs and let out that piercing yell that they do. And I thought I was dead at that point. And it was like such cruelty to animals because they thought the big joke would be the horse goes to the dentist and the horse is sitting in a dentist chair, and horses don't sit.
Right.
So
especially not in dentist chairs.
No. So they had somehow trained this horse to painfully and uncomfortably
that's
sit.
terrible.
Sounds
And
awful.
I was waiting for it to fall over and have to be shot.
Oh, it's just
on the
terrible.
set.
This is
It was
terribly
pretty
sad.
awful.
Yeah.
So
But the movie was such a hit.
Hot to Trot.
Where the hell was the Humane Society when you need him?
Do you remember John Marcus from The Cosby Show? You know John Marcus.
yeah,
I think John Marcus wrote this script under a pseudonym. I ran into him in the street, and we started talking about Hot to Trot, and he said, does Gilbert know I wrote that movie and took my name off of it?
Wow.
Well, he's probably going to be angry at me now for saying this publicly. But we'll bring John in here for a mini episode and talk about it. We're going to jump all the way past you playing Knick-Knack on Superboy and all kinds of other cool stuff to the year 1990. You playing opposite Priscilla Presley, Wayne Newton.
Oh, okay. The Further Adventures of Ford Fairlane.
You played Johnny Crunch.
Yes. With Andrew Dice
This is where you upset Bobby Slayton because you beat him out for the part.
Oh.
Do you remember that conversation?
Oh, yes.
Now, what the hell? And I never saw The Adventures of Ford Fairlane. What was this? You were hot from Hot to Trot? So
Hot from Hot to Trot. Well, they were mobs to see Hot to Trot.
Right. And your crack agent said,
yeah, I went, I auditioned for it, and Andrew Dice Clay wasn't there, but I'm sure when he saw the test, he went, Hey, what are you, pal? A homo? Oh! Hickory dickory dock! A guy go go! I was in bed with this broad. She says to me, hugga wugga wugga wugga. I did.
I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't have to ask you. I was going to say, how about a little of Dice?
Yeah.
You don't need any prompting.
So
That brought back memories.
Dice was at the height back then where he was playing arenas.
Mm-hmm.
He was like in Madison Square Garden and Shea Stadium he'd be. And this was going to be his big movie.
Sure.
And it's funny, the movie came out and bombed completely.
He's a private eye, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never seen it.
And he was that, and I was Johnny Crunch, and I think my name was like Johnny Teitelbaum.
Who was Johnny Crunch? Who was the character?
Yes.
What was the character?
Well, that character, I think they asked Howard Stern originally.
were you a shock jock?
Yes.
Oh, I see. Well, that smacks of
yes.
you were. What do we know about the adventures of Ford Fairlane, Paul?
I'm trying to check this thing out here.
And
but-
I think because that movie bombed so badly, now it's picked up a cult following.
Amazing.
People love the movie. But back then it bombed so badly, and he was getting in so much trouble,
Yeah.
guys. I heard he was originally intended to star in My Cousin Vinny.
Oh, I'd heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which would have been a great
Yeah, he would have been
match.
perfect. Not that
Yeah.
Pesci isn't wonderful
Oh,
in that
he's
picture.
terrific. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as Paul's
Oh,
looking up
Paul will be looking at this.
until this film enters the AFI Top 100.
Yes.
That same year, 1990. Now, this is one of your biggest pictures ever.
Wait. Also in Ford Fairlane, who I'd work with again later on, is Ed O'Neill.
Oh, Ed O'Neill.
Yeah, and Married with Children.
Did you put the moves on Priscilla Presley on the set
yeah.
of Ford Fairlane?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be having an affair with her.
In the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't work out.
No.
Hey, Frank,
Yes, sir.
is it bad that I'm still waiting for Paul to say, you know who was in Beverly Hills Cop? Eddie Murphy.
Paul's looking up The House of God right now. He's on the first. He's on the first.
But when,
Hey,
I get it, I've got it. You know?
Yeah. Hey, you know who was in The Kid with Charlie Chaplin?
Jackie Coogan. Look him up. This is your big film, Gil. 1990.
Not Aladdin?
Not yet.
No.
Nope. That's 2 years away.
Yeah.
You were Mr. Peabody
Oh my God!
in Problem
yes.
Child right
Problem
after
Child.
right after Ford Fairlane. Now you're
And-
becoming a cinema mainstay.
Yes. Yeah. John Ritter, Amy Yazbek,
Yeah.
and our favorite Jack Warden.
Jack Warden.
Terrific actor, and he was Big Healy.
Yep.
In that.
And written by our two former guests, Scott and Larry.
That's right.
Scott Alexander, Larry Karaszewski.
And yeah, I auditioned for that, and they said they already wanted me anyway. And I remember, this is a place that's been in the news lately. It was filmed in Dallas.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's where
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, that's where they did the first one. And yeah, Ritter was a great guy,
Yeah.
really friendly.
And Warden, what was your experience of Warden?
Warden, I unfortunately didn't have any scenes with.
Okay.
But I remember I said I want to have my picture taken with Warden. And they had a picture of me pointing in one direction. And then later they sent me a picture of Jack Warden holding that picture and pointing back at me.
Oh, that's nice.
And he wrote, "Dear Gilbert, who says we're not close?"
Oh, that's nice. You still have that?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And I got to talk to him a little during lunch, when we did Problem Child 2 in Florida, and I remember he was taking the day off because it was a Jewish holiday. And he was one of the famous Irish Jews.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
We were trying to list those last week.
Yeah, Jack Warden,
Wonderful
Leo
talent.
Gorcey.
There's a spectacular review of this movie on IMDb.
Which, Ford Fairlane?
Of Problem Child.
Problem Child.
And here's the headline: There is nothing wrong with this movie. That's the most positive review.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, how often do you hear that? Really?
And
G. Gottfried.
What's funny about it? Everybody expected that movie to be a severe bomb, and I remember when it was my last day of shooting, John Ritter, I was saying goodbye to, and he was saying to me in a very apologetic way. He was saying, "Well, you know the way it is. You take jobs where you could get them, and then you hope for the best for the next thing, and you really have no control." And I think he was apologizing for the bomb that Problem Child was going to be. And then the first sign that things were changing was they did a trailer, and people were in love with the trailer.
Amazing.
And the movie became a monster hit.
It spawned a sequel.
Yeah.
Which is on my list.
Yeah, a monster hit. And people come up to me all the time. And we had the Problem Child on our podcast.
We did, in fact, Michael Oliver.
Yeah.
And Scott and Larry.
Did
Okay.
you, now, I was gonna ask you. We have this beautiful arc. Excuse me. We have this beautiful arc of a brilliant career, one thing leading to the next. But were they falling that easily? Were you auditioning for all kinds of other things that ever happened? Were you?
I auditioned for plenty of
A lot.
crap. Yeah. Yeah.
This list could be even longer
Oh, yeah.
and more illustrious
Right.
than it is. We'll jump, and we're probably going to have to do several episodes of these because we've only gotten through one page. But this is fun. 1990, same year, you played Joey in Look Who's Talking Too.
Oh, that's
For another
right.
podcast guest,
Yes,
Amy Heckerling.
Amy Heckerling.
Yeah.
Amy Heckerling wanted me for that. And I got to dance with John Travolta in that.
I've got to see this.
And it's a quarter of a second. We do a simple dance. But that dance for that quarter of a second gets shown in the documentary Gilbert.
That's right. That is a good plug. It's in the documentary,
Yeah.
you dancing with John
And-
Travolta.
Now, do we consider the documentary part of Gilbert's career, or is that a separate special?
No, I don't think it. Well, maybe we'll.
It's
maybe,
tricky. We'll
yeah,
have
maybe
We need an
we'll,
entire episode to discuss.
maybe we'll close it. We're going to do a whole. Now that
Yeah.
you mention it, we're going to do a whole episode with the director Neil Berkeley. We're going to do a whole episode
That's gonna be great.
about the doc.
Yeah.
Coming up. So I'm glad you set us up. Let's try to get through this last page. We got about 2-3 minutes here. Problem Child 2. Anything special to say about
yeah,
that one
that
in
was-
1991?
That was done in Florida. And, that was the one I talk about in my book, Rubber Balls and Liquor. But
Another
they-
shameless plug.
Yes, exactly. And in one part, Mr. John Ritter and his date go to a pizza restaurant. And
Is that Lorraine Newman?
no. Yeah,
Oh,
this-
she's the psychologist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Lorraine Newman's the one who's in love with John
I'm trying to
Ritter,
remember it. Right,
but
okay.
She's evil.
Right.
And so he meets Amy Yasbeck as a totally different character. And they're on a date, and Mr. Peabody and his date is there, this impossibly sexy girl with big tits. And they had written in that there's a food fight. And at one point, a meatball lands between her breasts.
I think John Ford did this first in
yeah,
My Darling
yeah.
Clementine.
And me, being very much in the creative process, suggested to the director, you know what would be good? If I reach my hand between her breasts and pluck the meatball out. And they, of course, thought, oh, my God, this is why you hire Gottfried.
Many directors have said much the same thing. That,
And we did the scene a few times, and I never complained because I'm a professional.
Let's make sure we get it right.
Was your real motivation to improve the scene?
Oh,
or
yes,
just
I care.
I understand.
I'm like doing a scene with Brando. I really...
At that point, you could have fished a meatball out of from between Brando's breasts.
Oh, and one thing about Problem Child, the original, there was one scene where it's in the home for orphans, the orphanage, and there's a group of nuns around, and the Problem Child is supposed to appear, and instead it's this midget who appears because they couldn't have a child working that many hours. So this midget appears, an angry midget.
Of course he's an angry one.
And not a cute, attractive midget by any stretch.
An angry midget.
He's an angry elf.
And what I remember best about it, we're all sitting around, and the assistant director was a guy with a very impressive clip British accent. And we're all standing by, and he goes, Team 1 will be expected on set in 2 minutes to shoot scene 12, act 4. And the midget goes, boy, if I had that guy's accent, I could get all the pussy I want.
Was he saying it sincerely,
He was
or was he being
sincere.
ironic?
He really believed.
Oh, okay.
He believed it was the accent.
That is phenomenal.
I was holding him back.
Oh, I don't think we're going to top that. Well, let's stop here. There's plenty more to go, and we'll start next time with a movie called Highway to Hell.
Ah, yes.
And all that's written here is that you played Hitler.
Yes.
All right, we'll pick it up. We'll pick it up from there next time, and we'll when we complete this, we'll do an actual Bernard Pivot survey because this is inside the actor's studio.
This is
Gilbert Gottfried.
way too far inside.
If heaven exists.
We got to get Lipton in here,
Yes.
and we'll do one. I won't even do it. We'll
would
see if
be
we can
great.
book James, and we'll do a real one. Anyway, so Eric Ryan, producer of the month. This is part 1 of the cinema of Gilbert
Yes.
Gottfried.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Paul. And we have many, many more to go. And
and I should say that I was the orphanage, the adoption agency worker in the first Problem Child, which somehow I got a job as principal of an elementary school in the second
Mr.
one.
Peabody had 2 different.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you think that's really messing with people's sense of continuity?
Yeah, for those who watch Problem Child and go, it's different from the book.
The novella. We'll see you next time.
So I'm Gilbert Gottfried, and this has been Gilbert and Frank's Amazing Colossal Obsessions with my co-host Frank Santopadre. And Paul, what the fuck would we do without you and your amazing research, Rayburn?
I'm looking up Fort Fairlane. Please try not to distract me.
Colossal obsession.